So you know what I want to do is I want to bring that idea of learning outcome, right? So not learning objective is too broad, which is important. But for the lesson of today, what's the outcome? So remember the lesson we were doing on allergies and diseases, right? So that's an objective. We're going to learn that's the name of the chapter is allergies and diseases, okay? But then the learning outcome for today 45 minutes period is knowing the name of all the diseases and what are the clinical features or what's the diagnosis and prognosis of the disease, right? So when the teachers teach, they take an objective which is too broad, and then there need to be a learning outcome, but they have to go back to the learning outcome over and over again to remind the learner, are we learning this? Are you learning this? This is what I want you to walk out of this classroom, right? So when you walk out, somebody catches you, what do you learn today? You should be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? That's the objective. So learner needs to be aware of that, but also the teacher needs to be aware of that they repeatedly bring it back to the learner. What are we learning and what's the objective? What's the learning outcome of today?
Yes.
So that involves student behavior and a teacher behavior. What we see in present or traditional, when I was a teacher, when we see there's a teacher is active. What is student doing, right? Passive. And teacher is talking. What's the student doing? Listening, some not listening, right?
Sleeping.
Some sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. So that we have to change that behavior in a classroom and attach to the learning outcome, and that's going to bring the more learning in a classroom and student success.
So like in normal people's term, for like parents or everyday people, this is like having a daily goal, having a monthly goal. Monthly goal can be your objective, and daily goal is your outcome of the day.
Or a weekly goal could be an objective or
Yeah.
a standard we're learning, but the learning outcome could be from day by day, and the learning outcome could be of the whole lesson.
Yes.
So at the end of the lesson, what's an assessment? So there's a formative assessment built in every day, but then there's a cumulative assessment built on end of the lesson or chapter, right? But then again, that's not the end of the chapter. It should not be the end of the chapter. We should bring it back somehow so that students remember that for a longer period of time. And that's the problem. If you know what the forgetting curve is, that's the problem for getting curve, because we learn to the 100% and then people forget in next 2-3 weeks. But if you bring it back, then there's a trough and the crust, and it keeps going up and down, and then it goes plateau. That means now you have that learning for a longer period of time.
Awesome.